Friendships are supposed to be a safe space. The people who cheer you on, pick you up, and hold space for the messiest parts of you. But what happens when that safe space starts feeling suffocating? When the person you have trusted for years turns out to be the one who's holding you back, subtly draining your energy, quietly chipping away at your self worth. Today's story is about a woman who stayed in a toxic friendship for far too long, and the slow, painful realization that not all friendships are forever hit her. This one is for anyone who's ever felt alone standing next to someone than they ever did standing by themselves. This is ChatGPT Reacts, and welcome to another episode. So here's the story. I, 28 female, had a best friend for nearly a decade. We met in college, bonded over bad coffee and late night breakdowns, and swore we would be each other's forever person. At first, it felt like a soul connection. Like she was the one I would call when I got a promotion, when I had a terrible date, when I felt like the world was falling apart. But over the years, I started to notice things. She had a way of making every conversation about herself. If I shared a win, she would find a way to downplay it. If I opened up about my struggles, she would somehow make it about her. Once I got a big job offer I'd been dreaming for years. I called her, buzzing with excitement. She listened, paused, and then said, "Are you sure you're ready for that kind of pressure? I just don't want you to fail and regret it." I laughed it off, told myself that she was just being protective and worried about me. But a small part of me deflated. Then there were the little jabs, the jokes about my weight when I gained a few pounds, the passive aggressive comments about my relationships, the way she would just go silent for days if I didn't pick up her call or show up for her latest crisis. I stayed because she was my person. I stayed because I told myself that loyalty meant standing by someone even when they weren't standing by you. It wasn't until I found myself crying in my car after one of our hangouts, feeling smaller, less confident, and less like myself. Then I realized this is not friendship. This is emotional drain, disguised as loyalty. So I pulled back, stopped sharing my wins, stopped apologizing for things that were not my fault, stopped making myself so small so she could feel bigger. And that's when she disappeared. No questions, no confrontation, just silence. And the crazy thing, instead of feeling devastated, I felt lighter. I felt free. Okay. The hardest part of letting go of a toxic friendship is realizing that how long you've been holding on to the hope that they'll change. Friendships can be just as toxic, just as draining, just as damaging as romantic relationships. But we don't talk about it as much, do we? We excuse the small cuts, the subtle digs, the quiet betrayals, because we've convinced ourselves that friends are forever. But forever shouldn't feel like a slow, silent erasure of your self worth. Forever shouldn't feel like you're walking on eggshells. It shouldn't feel like you're shrinking yourself to fit into someone's shadow. And if you're watching this, thinking of someone in your life who has always made you feel a little less, a little smaller, a little more exhausted, maybe it's time to ask yourself if they're really your friend or if they're just a habit you're afraid to break. So let's put the story on ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT has to say to this. All right, here we go. Okay, so ChatGPT reacts. The psychology of toxic friendships. Number one, the slow, subtle erosion of self worth. Not all toxic friendships start that way. Often they begin as genuine, supportive connections. But over time, they take a dark turn. Small criticisms, backhanded compliments, constant one-upmanship. And because it happens slowly, you start to believe it. You start to internalize their words, to question your own worth, to wonder if maybe they're right. It's a kind of slow emotional erosion, a drip feed of doubt that eventually wears you down. Okay. Number two, emotional dependency and fear of being alone. Many people stay in toxic friendships out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of losing history, fear of facing the silence of an empty phone. And toxic friends know this. They sense the power they hold over you. The way you bend, the way you sacrifice, the way you apologize for things that were not your fault. They take advantage of that fear, that loyalty, that need for connection. Number third, people pleasing and the desire to fix others. And that's a good one. Sometimes we stay because we think we can fix them. We can't. Because we see their potential, their good side, the person they were before things got complicated. But here's the hard truth. You can't save someone who's committed to staying broken. You can't be someone's emotional punching bag just because they were there for you once. And you can't keep making yourself small just to fit into someone else's life. Okay. I think that was a very good analysis. But let's be real. If your friend cannot clap for you without subtly reminding you of your failures, if they make you question your worth more than they celebrate it, if you're walking on eggshells around them, maybe it's time to send them a "sorry, this friendship is no longer serving me" text. Or at least take a long, hard look at why you're still holding on. Drop your toxic friendship stories in the comments. Let's share, let's vent, and let's remind ourselves that loyalty shouldn't come with an emotional price tag. This is ChatGPT Reacts, and if your best friend makes you feel like a backup character in your own story, maybe it's time for a recast.